Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Marlies Mackenzie. Welcome to Everything Mackenzie. If you're watching me on YouTube, man, it's been a while and I'm finally back. But in the same breath, I'm not too sure if I should actually say finally, considering that I have somewhat been creating content on Instagram and YouTube, occasionally YouTube Shorts as well. So yeah, Instagram and TikTok, and it's been like short form content. The only thing is I think we haven't had a lot of time intimately where I provide you with a longer form content or video or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I am back and I've been around. I don't want to turn this into a whole, so this is where I've been, this is what I've been doing type video, because I don't necessarily think that I am there yet. That also does not mean that I think less of myself and the work that I put out. It's just a matter of the people who know me, the people who visit my page, but it's not like I went AWOL type of thing. And if you followed me on Instagram and you're subscribed to my YouTube and you're on my WhatsApp, that means you know that I've been around. You haven't necessarily been missing me that much. So yeah, the reason I haven't necessarily been posting a lot is I genuinely just haven't been posting. Like, I got into a whole phase where I overthought the content I was producing, because you already know that I believe that you should work with what you have right now. And if you were to wait, because there was this one time I told you about like how I started this podcast, and if I waited a long time to have all the equipment I needed and everything like that, then it wasn't necessarily going to work, because I would have been waiting a very long time. And then somewhere, somehow, mid-process, I started overthinking it again, and I was like, oh, yeah, I want to improve my quality. I want a team. I want this. And it's safe to say I have people who could be part of my team, and people whom I've reached out to. But I think no one is trying to work for free or exchange skills like that. And also considering that, like, I do not get paid for this. I fund my equipment with whatever it is that I have and whatever gigs I get, and I'm able to make money, and I try and pour that out to my podcast. But the reason it seems a bit too slow is because I'm working on multiple stuff, right? It would be the podcast, it would be my painting, it would be the business, and then you would just get that, like, as a result, something else suffers because you are somewhat in that season prioritizing the other better. And also considering the state of our economy, money does not have the same value it used to have before. So that's kind of where I've been, I suppose, the season I've been in and I've been expressing. And so yeah, I've also went on to look for an investor for one of my other businesses or stuff that I do that definitely could generate a proper income, better income than it is already. And of course, with some of the things that I do, they don't produce any sort of income. And I am one of those people who believe that all these things that could be perceived as hobbies that I do are things I'm actually turning into a career. And example, I am working on some art stuff, and someone reached out to me, a photographer reached out to me. They were looking for a model. Great stuff, lovely. And they offered me the pictures in exchange, of course, because I mean, they're pictures of myself. But then I thought about it and I'm like, okay, I don't have a camera. I use my phone to take most of my pictures, and a lot of people perceive that as me being an iPhone user. I'm not an iPhone user. I use an Android. I use a Samsung A32. I just know how to work my camera really well. And you know that Samsung goes well with light, right? So I was like, ah man, I could take pictures of myself. that time I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, right? Like, this is a whole conversation I'm having with myself, and I'm like, oh man, I can take pictures on my own. I can take pictures of myself. I just need a mirror. I just need light. I just need to like know how I'm going to position this thing so that I can see myself and all of that. So I was thinking like, nah man, it's light stuff. Even though of course with the camera it's going to be better, and probably the pictures would be edited. But like, I don't care much for edits. I just want proper pictures like normal people. Great stuff. And I figured to myself that no man, I'm trying to bag an exhibition. And I already have a concept, so this is essentially what I need. So how can I benefit from this person besides that I'm going to be on their portfolio, a profile portfolio, all of that, right? And then I'm like, no, considering that I already have this concept and I'm not trying to paint stuff, I just want portraits, I suppose, if we could call that, and like just have pictures, just have images really, and like an art gallery and all of that, right? I finally get back to this person and I tell them their work is really nice. I will introduce you to them once the time is right, of course. So I tell them that, hi, so I thought about your proposition, and also sorry for getting back to you only now. So this is what I need, and since you have the equipment and you need me, since in this case I suppose I'm a brand. I think every person is a brand really. It's just that social media has kind of changed this whole thing and make it seem like a brand is a person who has like over 10-20k followers. But yeah, so okay, sure. I tell them that, yeah, I need your equipment. I need you to take pictures of me. So we explore your concept, we explore my concept, we both win. And I think that I just wanted to give you this as an example, because going back to like how I've not been podcasting as much, or traditional podcasting, is because not everyone is necessarily willing to like exchange skills like that. People want money, and I definitely get the chat, like, you need money to get equipment, you need money to do this, you need money for C, you need money to get from here to that place. So it's definitely understandable, but then in the same breath it's also kind of like, bruv, you do realize that like we could move much quicker if we were to like point to each other like that. And I'm quite fortunate actually to have had people whom we kind of like pour into each other. But then of course at the end of the day you need to consider that like people need to eat, right? People need to eat. So that's just something that I've also kind of like been working on, not necessarily struggling with, but just, okay, how am I going to move from this point? And then there's just a lot of like inconsistencies that have happened in one's life, and then they just kind of like pour into your work as well. So that's kind of one thing, one reason, or one of the reasons I haven't been podcasting as much. Another one was I got a podcasting mic, this thing you see, it's like a whole podcasting kit. And if you know, in the past I have actually invested in like a couple of tripods. Right now I just realized as I was taking my tripod out now to like set up, you'll probably see that the video is a bit slanted. That means that my phone is a bit slanted on the tripod because the holder is a bit broken. Only realized this now because I was trying to, of course, set it up, and I'm like, hey, where's the screw? There's supposed to be a screw here. What happened to the screw? So now I don't know where the screw is. I tried to like take a screw out of like my one other tripod. Obviously not possible. I don't know if it's obvious, but hey, I couldn't do it. So then that's that. So now I almost like, that was one inconvenience that almost got me to stop recording this. Like I was ready to give up, and then I was inspired by the fact that I've been trying to record for the past month, but I just was not able to come on and record because I don't know, man. I thought like maybe it was just like some imposter syndrome, and I was like, what even is an imposter syndrome? I have no idea, but I'm like, it's something similar to that. And then I was like, maybe I have a creative block. And then I was like, wait, what is a creative block? Do I know that? And then I was like, okay, sure, I know a creative block, but I don't think that is what I'm experiencing. And I was like, maybe I'm just lazy. And then I was like, that could be it. But then considering how much work you like put into other stuff, are you really just lazy? And not me calling myself crazy, child. So yeah, that is one thing. And I figured, and then cool, I went on to my Spotify analytics, Spotify for podcasters, checked how my podcast has been doing since I've been quiet, really. And I realized, actually, this just happened now. Let me go back to a couple of weeks ago, if not, yeah, a week or two ago. I posted something about like how I'm just like, I was basically just apologizing to my audience, the ones who listen to my podcast, of course, but I also follow my Instagram, right? And I was apologizing for the fact that I've been a bit inconsistent, and said that like I just want to put this whole thing on pause because I want to provide better quality content. I want the camera quality, I want the visual quality to be really great, I want the audio quality to be really great. I just want everything to just really look as though this was recorded in a studio, or just like I just wanted perfection, essentially. And one person who's also a fellow YouTuber, Amahle Ngobo, sent me a text, or rather replied to my Instagram story, and she was like, girl, you don't want to put yourself through that. Trust me, I did that for a while because I just wanted everything to be perfect, and in the process I kind of lost a number of people, or I lost like a portion of my audience, and of course that sucked. But just remember that like the people who are on your YouTube, or are subscribed to your YouTube, see who you are, they see the potential you have, and honestly they just want to see you be yourself, and they just want to see you flourish. And I was like, damn, that's actually really so true. And I think a couple of days later, if not prior to her saying that to me, one of my friends and fellow creatives, Helda Ezangam, why did I say his whole name? That sounds so weird. Anyway, Helda sent me, so he usually like sends me a couple of reels, like inspirational stuff, calling out stuff, really, just creative stuff, inspiration essentially, man. And one of the reels he sent me was that of a person who was basically just telling you that like, even though you like have 500 followers, if you have 500 views, 100 views, 50 views, 1,000 views, just don't look at it as a matter of like you're trying to get like a lot of followers, you're trying to get a lot of viewership and all of that, although that is the aim, because that's the way you make money in this industry holistically. Just look at it from a perspective that like, imagine those 50 people who saw your video are 50 people in one room, and they're all there to see you. And I kind of like changed my perspective, because I was like, I don't care whether I get 10 people viewing my stuff, of which I've never really cared. But then there's a point where like the pressure kind of gets to you, and you're like, damn man, like what's happening? How long am I going to be doing this for? Because with every video you put out, and this is true for like artists, this is true for like, I don't necessarily like using the word artist, because I'm like, okay, but what kind of artist are you? So this is true for like fine art artists, this is true for rappers, this is true for poets, this is true for like every content creator. There's always that one thing that's gonna make you blow up. So if you consistently just post these videos, put your music out, put your spoken word out, whatever it is that you do, if you continue to like put that out, there's gonna come a time where that one video is what people are gonna know you for, and that is how you're gonna make your breakthrough. And that is just one thing that I've also kind of like used as inspiration to like just continue grinding. That's why I was like, okay, considering that like right now I'm not mentally in the right space, I suppose, if you could say mentally, because it might be a mental thing and I'm just not realizing it, because I feel like we often use mental health as an excuse for a lot of things. And that doesn't mean if you're like going through like some mental health stuff that you can't break through those things, right? And also, this is in no way me undermining or not taking mental health too seriously, really, or minimizing it. So yeah, that was one reason now that kind of like inspired me. Also, it was like one was like creative blog, but I can't really say because I have all these ideas. I have a list of all the podcasts I want to do. I think another thing that also kind of put me back or kind of delayed my process or like got me to stop was, even though I really can't say, to give myself grace and to be honest with myself, I didn't stop. Even though it kind of sounds like I'm consolidating myself or consoling myself. So yeah, that was that. And another thing was also, I think, not knowing how to go about something, how you're going to talk about this topic you want to talk about, not knowing how, just essentially like it goes into research, because even though Matt the podcast is not necessarily a research-based podcast, we have to provide some facts somewhere, because it's more so like it's more a self-help type thing where like it's based on opinions and how you feel and what the perceived truth is. And it's also a very factual podcast. It's just not hyperfactual. Like, we don't depend on research for what it is that we are putting out. That is what Matt the podcast is as well, essentially. Another thing was, I was still telling you about this mic that I got, right? So cool. I got this, it's a really nice setup. I'm not gonna lie. It's a really nice setup. And I got it, and then I expected like to record it. I was like, hey, why does this not sound like all the other people whose content I always consume? Like, this does not sound great. Is this mic even working? And then I was ready to return it, but then I figured maybe it's just a matter of I don't know how to use this mic. And I sent it out to a friend, and they had a look at it, and apparently it works. So now it's fine. I just don't have a technical ear for it, I suppose, or sound engineering, yeah. But so I'm still trying to figure this mic out. I still really think that like it should be, I don't know, man, I don't know. What I'm expecting is, you know how like at what is this thing, Gonje? At like events, that mic where you speak onto and you can like hear yourself, that is kind of like what I am expecting. So I'm still trying to figure it out. But that are kind of, I think I've sort of told you all the reasons I have not been here. And also another thing was, I was thinking of my name, or rather like just my brand holistically, right? And how I am trying to like merge all these things together. But now I'm just thinking in terms of name, where like on all the podcast platforms, I am Mac the podcast. And then you come onto my YouTube, it's Everything Mackenzie. I figured, do I want to turn everything into Marlies Mackenzie? My Instagram, Marlies Mackenzie, instead of Josigadi Mac. And then my podcast page will stay as Mac the podcast. And then my YouTube, do I want to turn my YouTube into Mac the podcast as well? I was like thinking like have everything be my name essentially. And I figured that like it would kind of go against what the initial plan was. Whereas the initial plan was to essentially just have Everything Mackenzie, and this accounts for my TikTok, accounts for my Instagram, accounts for the businesses I have, accounts for my name. Essentially everything that I do in my life as an individual is what I will put on YouTube. And from there I will then, because like on my YouTube you get vlogs, you get podcasts, you get paintings, you get DIY, etc. So yeah, that was something I kind of battled with, because while I have that, I wanted that when this page or this channel grows, maybe to like 20-30 subscribers, I can then move on to a YouTube channel that is specifically and solely dedicated to my podcast, which is Mac the Podcast, so as to not cause confusion as to Everything Mackenzie and Mac the Podcast, because I often have to like give two different things or names when I post stuff or when I come in contact with people, because I'm like, on Spotify you can find me at Mac the Podcast, on Apple you can find me at Mac the Podcast, but on YouTube you can find me at Everything Mackenzie. So yeah, that is essentially that. And now I am back. I am working on a couple of things. What I'm doing right now is I am recording this video on the 19th. It's the 19th of July today. And I'm going to record a couple of other videos, and then just so that by the time I actually start posting, I'm able to post consistently. Because another thing that was killing my production process was that I would record, edit, upload, record, edit, upload. And of course, editing alone takes a lot of time, even though most of my videos didn't necessarily need editing. But that is just one thing that was taking up time, or like I felt like I was making progress but not necessarily. And my final inspiration to finally record was that I was telling you that I was going through my dashboard, my Spotify analytics, and they were not looking too great. I have lost a number of my audience over the past couple of months that I haven't posted. I think it's been about 2 months, because the last time I uploaded was when I entered for Miss South Africa, and I have also not posted an update on that, and that is also another video that will come up. And so yeah, I am essentially just a 20-year-old trying to like a 20-year-old who will soon in a couple of days turn into a 20-something-year-old. So I just gave it away. That is so dumb. Okay, yeah, I'll be turning 21 in a couple of days, and yeah, I just want to work consistently and also give myself more grace, man, because I feel like I'm a bit too hard on myself. But then I think it's also when you work from a place of fear in the sense that you realize that there is scarcity with regards to a lot of things, that there is some sort of like, not necessarily a scarcity mindset, but just knowing that like you work from, I'm only saying this because I read an article. No, I didn't read an article, I saw a post, and it was just like a lot of people work out of a place of insecurity. You are trying to get rich because you have this financial insecurity, you have this food insecurity, you have this internal insecurity, you have some bodily dysmorphia, you have some kind of insecurity, and you are trying to be stable so that you know that should you lose 20,000 rand, you're still fine, essentially. So I think the fact that I'm being hard on myself like this is because I have goals that at a certain age I should be doing this, and I should be this type of person with this amount of my own wealth. So that's also another thing. I suppose that would be the insecurity, which is actually a strength. But right now, when you kind of like, when it's the one thing that's really motivating you and it's a fear type based thing, it becomes a bit problematic. But I think that this is something that we can always talk about in another episode. Right now, thank you so much for joining me. I do wish and hope that I will gain more subscribers, and those who have left on my podcast analytics, I hope that the audience number picks up again, and that we can take it from there and build a loving and trusting relationship again. And I do hope to be consistent. I am sending you love, and I am sending you light. As always, I am your host, Marlies Mackenzie. It's honestly been a pleasure being with you.